What's going on, everybody? Back for another episode of On the Ball podcast here on Integrity Sports Network. We still don't have the intro ready and everything yet, but it's all good. We're gonna make it work. It's
We're
formerly the
getting
Big
there. We'll get
Three,
there. It'll be
so
worth the wait. It'll be worth the wait. Our
exactly,
last intro
exactly.
was good, so I imagine we're
Yeah,
cooking up something really good for this one.
I definitely agree with that. It's formerly the Big Three podcast, so if you were a fan of that, it's the same thing. Although tonight it's just Dylan and myself. Jake and Brett aren't able to come on tonight, but we still got topics for you. Even before we get into that, Dylan, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, big March Madness guy, so we're going into the Sweet 16, so we kind of got that little lull period waiting, for more games to kick off again. But Sweet 16, Elite Eight, it's looking like a good field so far. I wouldn't say it's been pure chalk, but it's been pretty chalk so far. I mean, outside of like NC State and maybe Clemson shocking a few people, but it's been a great tournament so far. And NBA season's winding down. We're getting to the last set of games for a bunch of those teams as well too. NFL
Mm-hmm.
draft's going to be coming right around the corner in April. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the NCAA has been. There's been a couple upsets here or there. I thought kind of with the way the season kind of went a little bit that there might be a little bit more, but I do
No.
think. I mean, well, I kind of think like we're so used to March Madness just being madness with like
Well, we
12s
got
and getting
treated
all
the
these
last couple
upsets.
years. We got
Yeah,
treated the last couple years for
yeah,
March Madness.
and I think
Ooh.
that kind of probably spoiled some fans. But I do think this way, you're getting big names going up against each other. That's also a benefit, and I'm assuming the
Oops.
games will be great. So, you know, look, upsets, no upsets. I just still love the tournament. But before we even get into that, we got to talk about uh, Major League Baseball. I mean, this is not necessarily the reason why baseball would want to be talked about, but
Not the dude probably you want either to be in this
I
scandal.
mean, to have a scandal is one thing, but to
Mm-hmm.
have your biggest star in the game, who's not only domestically here in the U.S. a big star,
Worldwide,
but
he's the biggest.
internationally, I, he's
I
like up
mean,
there with like Messi and guys like
yeah,
that
I
in
was
terms
about
of
to say he's
popularity.
probably the biggest non-soccer player,
Yeah,
like internationally.
yeah,
I
and
would say
now he's in.
probably.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like he definitely is playing in LA, such a big market,
Mm-hmm.
but um, for him to be in a scandal that's dealing with massive theft, gambling, like those are terms that you never want to hear about surrounding an athlete. So he did a little press conference where he read a statement where he basically said, he didn't know, about the interpreter and his gambling dealings until a couple of days ago, I think he said, which is kind of crazy. But
Yeah, I have some strong opinions about that.
I mean, look, let's just get into it. What do you think the statement did anything to help Shohei at all in
Mm-mm,
this? Okay,
mm-mm.
well, we'll
I
start
man,
there.
maybe because it's just because there's just a lot of evidence against him, man, against Shohei being like a gambler as well too, like money wires in his name. It was just
Hmm.
different things like that, and it was just like he didn't get his big money until the Dodgers this year. He still was getting good money, but he didn't get that lucrative contract till this year. How do you not
Right.
notice like $4 million is missing? $4 million? Like how can you cover that up? I don't know. It just seems a little shady in my opinion. And all the news about his interpreter, lying about being to college and different things like that. I don't I don't know. He was with Shohei for a while, so it just seems weird that, now he figured it out as a couple of days ago. It's weird. I don't know. Man, like we were talking earlier, Shohei's that big guy. Shohei's the big guy that MLB has put so much money in.
Hmm.
They need someone to fall back. Ippei's the one who did it all. Shohei just has to move on and go with it. No, maybe it could be something where his money actually did get stolen, but I don't know. I'm a very conscientious person about my money, and especially if I was making millions of dollars, maybe I wouldn't worry about, maybe a couple thousand, couple hundred, maybe even 10,000, but you're missing $4 million. That's noticeable. And for you not to notice, I don't know. It just seems weird.
I mean, yeah, that's when it comes to athletes like this, there's always a tricky nature to it because kind of like you're saying, it's like, why would he allow access to his money for a
Yeah,
guy
like
that's an
how?
interpreter? I mean, I get it that he and the interpreter are friends. They go back to his time over in Japan, brought him over and everything like that. But I guess the main thing might be like how many people actually have access to Shohei's money? Because if it's like
What did
your
his agent?
accountant
Does
or
he not have
something,
an
yeah, like
agent?
agent or something. If he does, I'd probably have to look it up in order to tell you who it is. Like for Shohei to be kind of like the face of MLB, and this is kind of like a league wide issue. Don't really know a lot about him necessarily, personally.
Yeah.
And part of that's probably because maybe he's not that kind of guy, to be all flashy or big social media presence or anything like that. Which I do kind of think makes it worse for baseball because Shohei, up to this point, because I don't know if people's opinions are going to change or anything, he's been a pretty likable guy, I guess,
He's a
because he
clean
hasn't really
player.
been in the news for anything other than hitting home runs and dominating
Striking
on
out
the
people.
mound.
Yeah.
Yeah, so uh, it's such a weird story, and my biggest thing has kind of been the interpreter because you brought it up, lying on the resume about where he went to school, lying about previous teams he played with.
hmm
Because this is
hmm
something that I brought up on like Chief Seats yesterday. How did Major League Baseball not dig into his background or anything to
Like
allow him?
I mean, it's because it's Shohei Ohtani. Shohei is like, this is my interpreter. Like, this is my
Yeah,
dude. Like, he's cool. Like, do me this solid. Like, maybe it was his fault for like lying. Maybe he thought he needed some sort of like qualifications in a resume. But like, man,
hmm
I, do you really? I mean, he's Shohei Ohtani's personal interpreter. Why'd you need to lie point blank? Period. Especially if he was your friend. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a very weird situation. Why would you lie about what college you went to? I mean, wasn't he friends with Shohei before that time?
right.
Like, I don't
I
know.
guess yeah.
It's just all
It
weird.
definitely
It's all weird.
raises too many questions. Like,
Like
why did
with
he
Shohei,
pick UC Riverside randomly?
yeah, yeah.
Was that a school he planned on going to and then decided, I don't want to do it, but still used it or something? I don't know.
Because like they said, they had nothing on him. It's not like he went there, dropped out. They had nothing.
Yeah,
Not even in like him being enrolled there ever. It's just wild.
I don't know. Uh, but I mean, look, this guy who was at the press conference with him happens to be an interpreter as well. I believe he worked for the Dodgers, and I guess he's going to be Shohei's interpreter going forward. But now I think there's a few questions that need to be asked. In terms of MLB, will they change kind of like their policy or whatever it is on these interpreters? Like, will they actually start background checking them
Yeah,
or
yeah,
keeping up with them? Like,
yeah.
they kind of have to at this point.
I really think that's kind of what they do now. But I think Shohei had like a slight little privilege when it came to it. Maybe had a little bit more say into the matter.
Mhm.
And now like they're like, hey, dude, we let it happen. Like he's gonna have to deal with what we have now, type of situation. Also, the weird thing I think about this: if someone stole $4 million from you, would you not press charges? How come we haven't heard anything about anything like that? Like
That's a
if
good
we go
question.
if you go make a statement and being like, yeah, he lied to me, he did this, he did that, like, oh, I'm saying something.
That would be the natural reaction based off of Shohei's statement that he didn't know about this.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you signed for 700 million, which is deferred for years down the line, it's still 4.5 million. It's not like it was $20. So I don't. Yeah, for something to happen, and like another part of it that's a little weird to me is the Dodgers basically saying like, "Oh, this is Shohei's doing. He wanted to do this." So it's almost seems like there's a disconnect, and then baseball has some issues with their players' association, and like this is happening 2 days before the season starts, which is wild to me. So baseball just getting in its own way once again
Hmm.
with all of this.
It's always something. And the one number one thing that I think is funny is like the Houston Astros, like what was it, their owner being like, this is like one of the top three scandals in baseball. And said like two other
Yeah.
things that wasn't, the Astros situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, you just had his interpreter take money. He didn't cheat in a World Series. Calm down there, bud.
Right. So it's not the same thing. Also, the Pete Rose aspect of this too, because I saw a TikTok from Pete Rose where he was like, "Oh, I wish I had an interpreter too," and it's
Yep,
like,
I
dude,
saw that.
like Pete, you didn't need to comment on this one. You could have stayed in silence because there are some baseball fans who
Want him in.
every season seems like they
Pete
they,
Rose.
they keep up with the Pete Rose Hall of Fame campaign and everything like that. Even though I feel like we're at the point where they kind of need to just chill on that and realize probably never going to happen. And if he thinks that this Shohei thing makes his situation look better, then he needs to look in the mirror again. Because the worst thing that come out of this with Shohei is that he would just end up like Pete Rose and get banned. It's not like, oh, Shohei did it. Let's now put Pete Rose in. No, I think the Pete Rose ship has sailed and it's
Yeah.
completely gone.
Quick thing. What's the MLB's rule on gambling? I know, like for example, the NFL, like you can bet on other sports, but you're not allowed to bet, or you can bet on like, no, you can't even bet on the NFL. And I think Calvin Ridley ruined that for everybody. But
Well, I think with the
like,
NFL, it's like you can't do it. Well,
I
I
thought it
think,
was you just
well, I
could.
don't know, because like every sport, betting on the sport you're playing, I feel like it's a tricky slope to really go down. But I think the NFL is
Especially
like
since
all
you
these
know those
players are
dudes.
betting on NFL property, whether it's like in the plane or in the
Oh
facility.
yeah, I guess you probably can't do that either.
Yeah,
It's just weird. I don't know what the MLB's is because it's like people are thinking like, man, didn't Pete Rose bet on like what baseball games?
I think it was like baseball. I think it's like college
Yeah,
basketball, and
I
yeah,
mean, I mean, as long as I guess it's not against like actual baseball or whatever the case is, not on team
yeah, not
premises
on
and
team
not on
premises. No,
NFL teams. Okay, that's what I
yeah,
thought. I thought you couldn't bet on teams anymore. But yeah, I don't know the MLB's rule. We don't even know what it was all betted on. We don't even know if the dude it was bet on baseball, let alone that would be a
I mean,
whole different
I just
thing.
looked up real quickly. It says players cannot bet on any amateur or professional baseball games.
Okay, so just baseball. Okay, so I mean, I guess that's the only thing to look into. I guess I mean, as long as there's no bets under baseball, then. But at $4 million, like, you not one of those was like a baseball bet. Well, not one of those. He's like, yeah, Shoei is going to hit something tonight. You might as well just put
Yeah,
it on.
that I don't know that like I feel like Shohei thought doing this would kind of close the book a little, where all it really does is just raise more questions.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing about it with his, like the power, the star power of Shohei, nothing's gonna come of it. The MLB, the Dodgers, him, gonna do their best way of just sweeping it under the rug. You know, baseball's one
Hmm.
of those sports where you get heckled a lot. So yeah, a lot. It's never gonna die down. It's never gonna die down. Especially people who dislike the Dodgers aren't gonna let it down.
Yep.
Um, but definitely the MLB is gonna do its best. Its best.
Yeah, because like I
Because
said,
that's why I don't feel like we're hearing too much about it outside. Like it just seems so big. The story is so big. It is so big.
hmm
And then it's just like other people are starting to do their research on it, and it's just like they're finding out more and more and more, and it's just like, hmm, hmm. Feel like we should.
like
I feel like there should be something deeper on this right now.
because of the timing of it.
Hmm. Exactly.
Opening day being Thursday, this is overshadowing. I mean, like towards the end of spring training, like most people are checked out on spring training by then. But usually that time between spring training ending and then opening day, it's like a lot of anticipation for your team to see
Hmm.
them. Now it's all about, okay, Shohei's statement, but what really went on, the interpreter and all that, and that's what it is. And like you said, when the Dodgers play in certain cities, Shohei's gonna get heckled, and it's just gonna happen. He'll probably get more questions about it. I don't know if he'll just avoid them or whatever, but until we get kind of all the details on like how deep does this go, was Shohei actually involved in some way or fashion, the story's not going away at all.
Man, my only the one thing I can't get, it was just one person said they found two wire transfers in Shohei Ohtani's name, in his name. And I think it was like the only two they were like there a bunch of them were in like different names, it's like interpreter's name, but there was two of them with Shohei's name on it,
Right.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Major League Baseball, man. They know how to create scandals. All right, let's go to our next topic here. So we did actually just speak about March Madness at the top of the show.
Hmm.
So this is the Sweet 16, and as we also said, it's a little. I mean, it's pretty much chalky, but there are a couple of surprises here. You got San Diego State as a 5 seed. I mean, it's not a crazy upset, but it's still a little different. You got Clemson as a 6 seed in the West. Okay. Gonzaga, once again, another 5 seed, make it in the Midwest. And then, I mean, the one surprise, NC State. What they've done, winning the ACC, stealing the bid, now making the Sweet 16, like they're on a kind of a special run. Can they do I don't know, George Mason or something like that, where not a lot of tension on you. You start winning games, people start realizing that you're a pretty decent team, and you make a surprise run.
Wichita
I mean,
State when they made the Final
yeah,
Four.
yeah. So it does happen, which is why a lot of people love the tournament. But I guess looking at the Sweet 16 games that are here, which matchup are you looking forward to?
Mm, I mean, personally, I think North Carolina Alabama is going to be a great game. I mean, North Carolina obviously being a great one seed, they're a good offensive team, and then Alabama is one of the best offensive teams in basketball. Had
Mm-hmm.
a little rough start against Grand Canyon. They definitely came back and made it close a little bit, but overall, Alabama's a great team. They were a team that was been in the top 25 for basically what seems like all year. They just never left it. A really good team. Um, yeah, I think UConn. I think Alabama could. I want UNC to win that game, but I think Alabama could give people struggles. If they beat North Carolina, I feel like they could beat the winner of Clemson, Arizona as well too. I feel like definitely the winner of that game. I feel like has an easier bracket because I don't know. Does if Duke beats Houston, do they want to face NC State again if they upset, especially if they upset Marquette? And then if you got to think about it, like oh, I was just reading that
That's a good
comment. But
point.
if you got to think about it, man, and then if you beat Houston, or if
Mm-hmm.
you beat Houston and Marquette still wins, you got to go face a 1 and a 2. And I mean, like Purdue, Gonzaga, Creighton, Tennessee, those are all just good, solid teams right now. All of them have just looks like. I mean, Creighton had that little struggle against Oregon, but like,
Mm-hmm.
just seems like they've just been playing their type of basketball, doing good. I mean, and then I guess Illinois Iowa State's cool. I like Terrence Shannon a lot. Iowa State's a really good team. Shocked a lot of people this year, especially winning the Big 12. Definitely, whoever's coming out of that East division is probably going to be the favorite to win the finals. Well, yeah, the NBA, well, not NBA, NCAA championship.
Yeah, because
Maybe
I mean, for
unless
me,
it's San Diego State, but if San Diego State upsets UConn and then beats like Iowa State or Illinois, it's like give them their flowers. Back to back
yeah,
Final
yeah,
Fours, give them their flowers.
yeah. And I mean, going into it, I had, Houston beating UConn in the final. So I do agree that whoever comes out of the East, well, out of that probably San Diego State UConn game, probably gets to the championship game. But um, I mean, Houston has a tough one against Duke. Like I like Houston only because they're very physical. With with them having kind of older players on their team. They kind of been there, done that, and understand what the tournament's all about. And for Duke, that they have a tough matchup there. Like you said, NC State could be waiting for them, or Marquette, because Marquette's tough. Shaka Smart, wherever he goes, like those teams really do well. Whether it's
Man,
VCU or Texas
my
and
thing
now
on
Marquette.
Marquette though, it just feels like just like some games, like they even if they win or they squeak by, they just don't. They're just not playing their best basketball, and it's just like in these tournament aspects, if you're facing a hot NC State, like they're gonna go. To be fair, NC State had to play what Texas Tech, who I thought Texas Tech was gonna beat Marquette personally in my
Hmm.
personal bracket. I thought Texas Tech was gonna make the Elite Eight, and then they had who was it? Oakland, Oakland upset Kentucky, and they had to face Oakland in the second round, and they gave them a run for their money. So, I mean, this NC State play team is playing really good right now.
Yeah, I mean they got the big fella in the middle that's kind of capturing the country with his
Hmm.
ability, and I feel like they're kind of like a fun team to watch, especially with the run that they had in the ACC tournament. That makes them a really good story right now, which is really part of the March Madness lure. But I guess looking at the number one seeds, that they all made it to the Sweet 16.
Hmm.
Who should be on upset alert? I know you talked about North Carolina, Alabama being a good game, but who do you think is most likely to fall in Sweet 16?
I would have to put UConn as the safest. I mean, San
Okay,
Diego State, as much as they were a finals team last year, they kind of had a lucky run. They had some help making it there. What they had to play FAU. No, they didn't.
I think so.
If no, I'm not sure if they had to play FAU in the final. I don't remember who they did, but it was last year was a weird tournament, a weird tournament. But overall, I think UConn's the safest. Man, you got to watch out for Duke, no matter what. Just those blue blood teams, you just don't want to face them in March. It just sucks. Maybe not me. You could talk about their records throughout the season, how they didn't even win their conference championship, and it's just
Hmm.
like it's March Madness time. That doesn't matter. Like this team is going to play really well. So Duke over Houston could be a little scary. And then man, Gonzaga was a weird team. I'm pretty sure they lost all their games to St. Mary's this year. Don't play in a strong conference, which has always been their problems, but had great early like top wins during the season. Um, so Tennessee needs to be scared on an upset. Creighton's good. Creighton can score. Um,
Hmm.
Gonzaga's such a good team. It's just like it's one of those blue buds, one of those powerhouses. You got to give props to Purdue. Zach Edey is going to be the best basketball player in college this season, no doubt. Um, man, Gonzaga's good too. I would probably still have to give it to North Carolina. I think that Alabama team, if they can just man, they have a chance to be up 20 at like halftime, and that's just because they just set an amazing pace when it comes to like their offensive ability. I'm pretty sure they were the best scoring team in basketball this year. Um, and that sucks being a UNC fan. Since Oklahoma's not in, I would love to see UNC do good, but man, Bama's scary. Bama's scary. Edie's overrated. Man, they just love being tall in college is easy.
Yeah.
Luca Garza, Zach Edey. You either have to be just an amazing guard or you're just a big who wins it.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, Edie's a guy that I've been very critical of. I still kind of am, because as dominant at times as he is in college, I I still don't see the fit for him in the NBA. But then again, who knows? Maybe he gets in with some team, and uh, I don't know. But just looking at him and how he
Miami.
plays at Purdue, I'm just like, I mean, sure, get that Heat culture. Who knows? But
Man,
um,
that dude from Oakland, I saw all the memes. Like, little does Spoelstra's already circling him in for 13 minutes next season.
I mean, I heard a lot of people talking about him. The fact that he was like 24 or 25 or something, and
Yeah,
some
he's
people
old.
talking about how you know that's a problem with you having like 24, 25-year-olds playing against 20-year-olds and everything like that. It's like, well, it's the rules of college.
Yeah,
You
and then
know,
when you get into the NBA, you have 19-year-olds playing against 37-year-old, 38-year-old LeBron James. Like, I mean,
yeah,
there's going to be age gaps. Five's
yeah,
better than 20.
exactly. Oh,
And
you know,
besides,
that
99%
Goki
of the
dude was
time,
entertaining to watch.
99% of the times the freshmen are still better anyways. It's just
Hmm.
like that one night that bet gets hot.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, caught up on the chat here, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. And another aspect to this was Jay Williams talking about the tournament, and he outlined a plan for like 112 teams,
That's
which
stupid.
I when he first said that I was like 112, couldn't wrap my head around it. But let's not talk about 112 because, like you said, I think that's crazy. Although the reason for it made sense. He's like it would make more money, and as we've seen in college, that usually drives a lot of decisions. But would you like to see some sort of expansion, whether it's like the first four expanding that a little bit, and then
That's where I was
putting more
going.
teams like in the play-in part, and
Yep.
then have them filter
Yep.
into the 64 team bracket?
That's what I would like. I would like, man, you make 10 through 12, just make them all playing games.
Yeah.
Outside of your insta bids, I mean, man, if you can make 10 through 12 games, like what is that? What would that be? What, 4, 8, 12? That'd be 12 teams, so 24. So what are you adding? 20 extra teams and make it 90, well, 88. I mean, just having a whole stretch of playing games would be good. You know, a lot of the people talk about how these smaller conferences shouldn't get this instant bid or shouldn't get that or shouldn't get this. Or you see a lot of snubs, like maybe this great power, like this non-power five, non-conference school just happens to lose their conference. Indiana State's perfect. Just happened to lose their
Hmm.
conference championship. But man, they probably should have just made it at that large and it upset people. Gives those teams a chance, you know? It'd be cool, you know, after they announce the brackets and stuff, you just kind of leave it blank or whatever, and then you just announce like the play-in lines. Like you just have like, you know, like I said, like 12, 16 different matchups, have them all play.
Yeah. So Anthony says number one seed should play on their home court in the whole tournament.
I like neutral
Uh,
sites.
yeah.
I am in favor. I guess I do like that, but don't like the one seeds get to play closer if it's possible anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
if
I'm pretty
you're
like
like for like UConn, their game might be
Philly.
in New York
I'm
or
pretty sure
something like that. Where it's,
I'm pretty sure they
yeah, it's
played in
not that far.
Philadelphia for their like first area. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Houston, like they were in like Arizona. I'm pretty sure North Carolina, they were in like Charlotte or something like
Yeah.
that.
So it's not too
So
far where their fans won't travel. So the game ends up being pretty much a home game for them. Like I see what Anthony's saying because I
no, I
mean
get
that's what
it.
they
I
do.
mean, you deserved a number one seed.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd be more in favor for the number one overall seed.
Now Anthony, are you because you said the whole tournament? So you mean like the fact that like the final four
Finals,
and everything's at a
no.
neutral site? Like you wouldn't want that? You'd want that to
Man,
be on a team's court? I kind of like
I
the neutral aspect at least of the final four.
yeah, I like the neutral aspect with the Final Four. It makes everyone like, I mean, I guess in the NBA they go back and forth. It's not neutral site, but everywhere else it's a neutral site. Like almost every and not MLB. Like the ones that go in series are not.
Okay, so Anthony said not the finals. Okay.
Okay. I mean, I guess you could find like a bigger stadium to put it in.
Yeah.
Make it a bigger there. It'd be interesting.
Well,
I
definitely interesting.
definitely.
Yeah.
You know what though? It won't happen because they're. You know how much money they're making at those venues, those this NCAA tournament venues, selling
Mm-hmm.
shirts, hats,
Yeah.
food.
Yep.
That probably won't happen because UConn would get to keep most of the money then if they did it at their place. Plus, you also get paid. You get the experience and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's one thing they probably wouldn't do because
Be
all
intriguing
these
though.
schools would probably complain about it. So
Yeah,
all right.
but
Let's
get
go
good. I
ahead.
guess that's the only argument. Get good. Be a one seed, then you can
Right.
have this luxury.
I mean, it would put an emphasis on conference tournaments and everything and like that, and make the fight for the number one seed, I guess, a bigger deal. I
Hmm.
don't know. I mean, kind of is a big deal now because usually for a number one seed, you might get an easy bracket, you might get favorable matchups on your way to the final four.
Shit,
So,
you get to
like
play a
that aspect of
16
it,
seed as your first game. Like, I'm
yeah,
sorry, 16 seeds have only won twice. You get that. That's for a reason.
Exactly. All right, let's. I mean, look, we'll definitely by the time we're back next week, we'll be into the would it be the elite?
Final
No, it
four.
would be like the final four by then. Yeah.
Mm.
So we'll definitely see who
Actually,
comes out of
no.
this.
If I'm being honest,
Would it be?
that might be the championship. Not sure how long they take because we're in what 3 days now. The games are the 28th. Nah, we'll be fine. It'll probably be the
Yeah, I think yeah.
final four.
So I guess
Because
okay. So last thing before we move on, looking at this right now, final four would be
UConn,
okay.
Alabama. I'm gonna go Houston, and then I've been a little bit high on Tennessee, so I'm gonna stick with Tennessee. I had UConn and Tennessee as my championship, so I'm gonna stick with that.
Okay. All right. So at least your championship's still in play. Like I said, I had UConn and Houston, which is kind of boring, but at least that can
Hey,
still happen.
man, what people forget about those brackets, like literally 90% of the time, it's chalk when you get to like the Elite Eight, Final Four. Like you get your upsets for the first couple rounds, and then it's
Mm-hmm.
just like, yeah, the good teams came into play. Like that's it.
Yeah. So I'd probably say yeah, UConn, Houston. Obviously, I'd keep them, and then
Mhm.
Midwest, I'd probably go. I mean, Tennessee is good. You know what? I'll throw my hat on Creighton.
Okay.
I've been impressed by Creighton a little bit,
I
and
feel
then
like
in
if
the
Creighton beats
West,
Tennessee, they can beat Purdue, Gonzaga. They just have to get through
yeah,
Tennessee, in my opinion.
yeah. I'm still not a big believer in Purdue, so I would take Creighton or Tennessee if Purdue is there over them. Yeah, something about Purdue feels like they're just gonna come
Same,
up short.
same.
Yeah,
I would always struggle like when I was making my brackets, having them pass like the Final Four, putting
yeah,
them in a championship game, even making it to the Final Four. Ooh, like I don't, I don't think you guys can do that.
yeah.
But now we say that Purdue's going to win the championship.
Right. And then in the West, I would say I'm pretty sure I didn't have North Carolina getting out of there, so I'm not going to go with them. I didn't have Arizona either. Can't remember who I had in the West. But looking at those four teams, I could see Alabama, but once again, I'll just be crazy with it. Actually, no, I'll go Arizona. Why not? I feel like people have counted Arizona out a little bit.
Caleb Love's playing amazing. I'm
Yeah,
really interested to see North Carolina, Arizona in the Elite Eight. Caleb Love going up against UNC. It's old school.
yeah,
It'll be fun. You got a little
definitely.
storyline right there.
That's what it's about. Storylines are always a great thing for March Madness. All right, let's go on. All right, sticking with college, but now college football. And also, I do want to say, have you watching the women's tournament as well?
Bits and pieces of it. I had a perfect bracket after like the first day. Like I just made like one, and it was like perfect still. And I was like, oh, maybe I should like keep up into this now for a little bit. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I
it's been
probably
a
should
really
have
good
put the
tournament.
women's bracket up to be fair to them because the big name teams are still there:
Hmm.
South Carolina, Iowa, LSU. So
I'm
definitely
not sure
seems
what I
like
had as my
you'll get
championship.
a
I think it
good.
was South Carolina, UConn. I had South Carolina winning it.
I mean, hey, UConn getting back would be a big deal. I feel like it's been a few years since we've seen that. But yeah, so college football. Deion Sanders. We know Deion is good at creating some news, creating a buzz.
LeVar
So
Ball
he go
esque
yeah, kind of on that level. Yeah.
with some
So
of the
he goes on.
not with his like mannerisms or how he acts even about his kids, but some of the things he says, it's like, man, let them control
Yeah.
their career. I don't want to hear what you think they should do. Let me just hear what they want to do and call it cool.
Right. So Dion goes on. There was $1 million worth of something podcast. I had the name earlier, but I forgot it. But he talked about how he would. There's certain cities he would like to see Travis Hunter and Shadur Sanders, his son, play in, and
I'm
there's
pretty sure he
others
said
he
Shiloh
wouldn't.
too.
I, I don't remember him talking about. Well, if it's going to work for Shadur, obviously Shiloh's going to follow the same plan.
Yeah.
He's going to do it for both of them. And then he called it basically just doing Eli. If there's teams out there that he's not a fan of, say you won't play for them and get a trade working. First question would be, well, I think you kind of alluded to it, but like, did you have an issue with what he said?
I mean, everyone's entitled to whatever, but I just think it's annoying. Like, why are like the players should have power, but like not in that way. You sign up for the NFL draft and agree to be drafted by these teams. It's dumb, I guess. Like, you want to pick where you work, but this is what you signed up for. I'm sorry. Like a team
Yeah.
is gonna want your talents, pick you up, and that's how it is. Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's like hand in hand with the Caleb Williams situation, his dad being like, oh, whoever drafts him, he has to take a majority stake into the team. And it's like, huh? It's like, why are you coming out and saying this? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it does nothing. I just don't feel like it does anything but just like make people like kind of turned off to the players. Kind of like I'm sorry. That'd be annoying. That'd be very annoying if Shedeur was like, no, like New York drafted me. Sorry, I'm gonna wait until I can get a trade working with Atlanta or this one or that one, and it's like that's annoying. That's annoying. I mean, that's not what the draft is. I mean, you go to help the team whoever gets you. Sometimes
Mhm.
fits don't work. Sometimes people get traded. Sometimes rookies are cut, like year one. But I don't know. I just feel like it kind of just ruins what we have already with the NFL draft, playing in college, the whole combine setup, which I mean, they're coming back next year, so they don't even attempt the combine this year. It's just weird. I mean, and a lot of this also goes is like a team that's going to draft you, they're going to talk to you a lot. They're going to do this whole scouting process. You're going to probably have like 10, 12 meetings with them, especially these guys that are going to be that high. Man, they're going to get invited to the team's workout facilities, everything. Meet the roster, meet our owners.
Mhm.
We meet this, meet that. And it's like if a team is drafting you, it's probably not because they're drafting you in the blind, and it's probably because they talked to you a lot and you've made it seem well known that you're okay with this. I mean, I imagine there's been many prospects who, in just even they're just team meetings by themselves. They're in their prospect meetings, whatever it is. Like they would talk to a team and they'd be like, "For being completely honest, I don't feel like this is a fit for me." And they just move on. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just feel
I
like
kind of
being
feel the same
openly
way.
vocal about it.
Right.
I feel like the concept being openly vocal about it and just being like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna just wait out and just hope for whatever I get." Is just I don't know. It seems a little childish. Nobody else is doing that. Eli did it once and we haven't seen it. And Eli got ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
Like it or not. I mean, he did good for the Giants. Just not
Hmm.
people weren't happy with it. People thought it was dumb. It just
Yeah.
seems like you're just throwing a tantrum because you can't get what you want. And it's like that's not what the NFL is.
And because of that, that's where I've kind of tried to draw a parallel between NIL, transfer portal,
And
and kind of like the new way of
mm,
thinking. Like, if the
yes.
situation doesn't fit for me, I
I
should
can
just
just
be
leave.
allowed to up and leave. And and
Very
look,
much the
when
transfer
Eli
portal
did
has
it,
put that in there.
yeah, and I feel like that's where like the new
Great point.
athlete, that's kind of the mentality that they're going into it with. So now as a team, you have to worry about during the interview process, if you get the vibe from a prospect that he's not going to want to play for you. At that point, you can do one of two things. Well, three things, I guess. You could either trade the pick out because you don't want to deal with that. You could take the player and then trade him after to get something for him, or you just move on to the next guy on your board and take that player and deal with whatever ridicule from your fan base for not taking the guy that they assume you should have taken. But as a
Man,
team, you don't want a guy there that doesn't want to be
exactly.
there.
And I would be open. I'm sorry if I was like Seattle and like there was a dude like my fans just wanted, and I tried talking to him, interviewed him, and he was like, "This is not it for me. I do not want to play here. I don't think it's going to be a fit, or whatever the case may be." I'd be like, "Hey guys, we know you wanted this dude. We thought he was great too. He didn't want to play for us. We're not going to waste our draft pick and our talent on that."
Yeah.
It's weird. I don't like. I
Uh,
just don't like players making demands like that. Like, make demands for your contracts, better health, better safety, all of that. But
mhm.
demanding you should pick and choose where you go, become a free agent.
Yeah. Pretty
become a free
much.
agent. Play out your
Yeah,
first contract. If they can't maybe extend you, they
exactly.
might trade you. Shit, stuff like that happens all the time. Just gotta play out that first contract. Just gotta play it out. And then you get to pick and choose and decide from that point on. You want to sign 1 year contracts every year so you can pick and choose like that? Go crazy. But you got to
Yep.
play out that first year. You go for your first 4 and maybe a 5th year option and a franchise tag or 2.
Plus,
That's
plus
what
you gotta
sucks
look at
about
it
the
as like.
NFL.
Plus, it's like if you have a really good season, you're seen as a top pick. That means that you are supposed to be, to steal from Cam Newton, a game changer. So if it's a really bad team up there, them adding you means that you're supposed to get the ball rolling for them to turn it around. I mean, that I feel like for the ego of the athlete, that's kind of what they wanted to do.
Exactly.
But
You
now
want to
it's
be the
like,
franchise.
right. But now
You
it's
want
like,
to
I want to
be
be
the
the
dude.
franchise, but I want to be in the franchise that's already winning.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
that,
either
that
that
point,
or
you're
it's
not
like
even
I
the
want to be
man
a
at that point.
franchise. I want to be in the franchise where like I can just feel like the most comfortable, like weather-wise.
Yeah.
Okay, it's weird
Which,
playing a
as
dome.
much as you try to avoid cold weather in the NFL, you're gonna
It's
experience
not
at
going to
some
happen.
point,
You got to go
whether
on
it's the
away games.
playoffs or whatever. Yeah.
You got to go on away games. You're going to have to play Green Bay at some point. I'm sorry.
Right.
You got to play
So
Buffalo in a snow game at least one point in your life. I'm sorry. It's going to happen.
yeah. Or you end up like Miami. Go to Kansas City, negative whatever,
Get
and
some
you
fingers
gotta
amputated.
find ways to make it through.
Get some fingers amputated, you know.
Yeah.
All good.
It's, I mean, like you said, Deion can say whatever, but when the time comes next year, will these players actually do it? I've
No.
heard, like Anthony said, his son's not even that good. I mean, as a quarterback prospect, I don't know what the quarterback class looks like next year. And we
Not
know
super
that
great.
teams, right,
Oh,
and
Quinn
teams will
Ewers.
overdraft for a quarterback, we know.
Quinn
But
Ewers is
Travis
the
Hunter,
star. Travis.
Travis Hunter could very well be in a top 5 position.
Man, it
So we'll
sucks.
have to see
He
if he
plays
tries
that
to do
split
that.
position. I imagine if he gets drafted, he'd play corner. That's where it's hard a position to play. Him
Mhm.
having his his hands, his ability to like play with receivers, know what they're gonna run. Him just as a corner would just be so dangerous. I seen who was the last corner to go top 5? Jeff Okuda. Oh, Devin Witherspoon. Never mind.
Yeah,
He
but
went
said
5.
Witherspoon. Yeah.
I forgot. I forgot. I thought he. I don't know. I thought he had pick 6 for a reason. But well, I guess Witherspoon was good. But before that, it was Okuda, and that wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But
Well,
that's gonna suck. Imagine like you really went and Travis Hunter like at like the number 2 pick, and he was just like, no. Just like all
right.
your fans yelling and screaming, knowing like let's say like Quinny yours were gonna go 1. It's like you're sitting at 2 and Travis Hunter's there. Like your franchise is literally like knowing throughout the whole draft process,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that he'd be your guy, and just being like, hey, yeah, no, he doesn't actually like us.
I mean, and for
He
the team, they're
refused to
gonna have
come
to
play
deal with
here.
that. They have
He
to deal
refused
with
to
that
play here.
because the team's gonna know. Sports radio the next day is gonna be, well, why don't you just pick them and convince them to stay? Because that's because
Because
to every sports fan,
Kadarius
it's like,
Tony.
right. Because like for every sports fan, it's like, oh, you just make him stay. That's not how it works. If the
No.
player is not bought in, they're just not bought in.
Well, to be fair though, if I mean, what happens if they don't sign contracts like a rookie deal? I forgot. I mean, it's not
That's
really
actually a
happened. No one's just
good
not signed their
question.
rookie contract. I mean, do they just are they not allowed to play? Does the team hold their rights still for like
I would
that
assume they
term?
hold their rights, but that's a good question. Let me look that one up.
Because the only
I mean,
thing I
if
could
it
think is
starts if
like,
it starts coming down to that, then it's like that's nuts.
yeah, because that's the only thing I think you could get him on because you have to show up to your camps. His dad, legitimate dad, but
uh, okay, so there are 2 options for a player who really doesn't want to join the team that drafted him. They could choose to take a year out of the sport and return to the draft the following year, but it costs them a year of NFL salary, of course.
okay.
And it says like lead to the assumption of an attitude problem, which I guess, but I mean, that probably would be attached to him, but that would be wild if you get drafted and then you sit out and then re-enter the draft, which would be kind of crazy. What if the same team was there
They're like,
at the
haha.
same position to take you again?
They're like, well, we could keep running this back if you want. You will
Right.
be a bear.
So now you're
We just
draft
keep you in the locker
eligible
ready.
for another year. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
That's something
Yeah,
to do out of spite.
talk about that with Anthony. I mean, yeah, at that point, yeah, that would be kind of funny. It'd be sad for the player, of course, but it would be kind of funny if the team just kept doing it.
Maybe that's why it doesn't get that long. You don't want to be a year without salary. But man, NIL's a thing. Shadar make $2 million. You know, in a college season, oh, he can afford to wait a year. He can afford to wait a year. He has $2 million from playing college. Afford to wait a year. I guess that's what makes it crappy.
See, how many times can you go back in the draft?
I imagine as many times as you want. I mean, until you're drafted. You just might get picked less and less and less because of your age, and you know, some people are just going to be like, we just don't want you, man. Like you're just a problem. Like teams might avoid you just too many times.
Yeah, or just take you in later rounds or something.
Well, I would no, because if you go undrafted, then I don't think you wouldn't be able to re-enter if you go undrafted.
Right, because
so you would have to get drafted. You literally have to get drafted, not sign your contract, and then just re-enter again. Yeah. So a team would literally have to draft you. That'd be wild.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really want to play with Seattle, man. Oh, my 30 years old, drafted in the 7th round. Arizona.
I mean, the way college athletes are going, it may happen one of these years for all we know.
Yeah, it's gonna be like some big prospect too. Like I feel like now that we're talking about it, next year we're gonna get something like that. We're speaking it into existence. It's gonna be like a defensive end or something.
Yeah. Or get like a team that's on the phone with the player trying to convince them. They end up missing the time, and because that happened with Minnesota, which I still didn't understand. You know, a few years ago when Minnesota missed their pick, and then a couple of teams picked after them, and then Minnesota got back in. It was just a weird thing. But let's see. Anthony says sounds like he's going to the Giants next year. Well, it could happen.
Cool.
I mean, look, the Giants are in a weird situation. If the reports about them
they're done with
trying to get out from Daniel Jones are true,
they haven't even declined it yet. You'd feel like at this point, going through all the coaching meetings and stuff like that, you know, they would decline. No, nothing. I feel like they'd be happy playing with Drew Lock. I mean, I think the only thing I heard is that there's going to be a competition.
Which, if you're Daniel Jones and what you signed for, the fact you're going to be in a competition with Drew Lock is kind of wild. And for all we know, the Giants might draft a quarterback at some point and throw him into the competition too.
If I were the Giants, all this JJ McCarthy hype would get me scared. I would definitely draft a quarterback. All that rumors the Patriots might take him, maybe Washington taking him at 2. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it goes Chicago, then it goes Chicago, Washington, New
England,
Chargers at
Arizona.
4. No, Arizona's at 4. No, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Chargers are 6.
Yeah. I mean,
Marvin Harrison. Obviously, Marvin Harrison.
Because Damien, who's been in our chat a few times, he's been on this whole thing about Harbaugh wanting JJ McCarthy. How wild would it be if JJ McCarthy went 6 to the Chargers?
And they trade Herbert for what? Everything?
Right.
God, they just paid Herbert stupid. That dead cap would literally they couldn't.
I know, yeah. With their cap situation, they probably couldn't.
But to be fair though, the way he is hyping him up, he's like, "This is the best quarterback in the draft class. This is this. Like, he's so great." It's like, damn, you guys gonna take him? As a Seattle fan, you want to trade me Herbert? I'll take Herbert. I love you, Gino, but I'll take Herbert.
Yeah, I mean, as Anthony says, the draft starts at 5 because it does seem like a lot of people now with JJ McCarthy kind of shooting up boards. I've seen a lot of experts saying that they think the first 4 picks will be quarterbacks, which that's kind of wild to think about. But
Yes. Arizona can trade back.
yeah,
If I were in New York, I would be hitting up Arizona right now massively though. Even if it's from 4 to 5, 5 to 4,
hmm
you get Arizona on the phone because whew, they'll trade back. They'll trade back.
yeah,
They'll take more picks.
yeah,
Especially if all these quarterbacks are going to go 1 through 4. They have that prime spot. You might get the pick of the litter. Might not you get the last quarterback, but if you need one, Arizona's
hmm
that team.
yeah. We'll see. I mean, I was watching some videos on JJ McCarthy only because his name's been bouncing around a lot, and I mean, I feel like there's some that he does well, but I don't know if he's like a number 4 pick though. Like I
Man,
said,
I feel
it's
like
the
he's going
quarterback position. You
Washington.
you got to go with it.
I just
If
don't
you
know
went
why.
two,
I think he might
that's
go too.
crazy.
I
That's
think he might
crazy.
go too. Washington had him in the facilities. Washington had him
Yeah.
there. I don't know, man.
I mean, if
Hey,
you're
that
a
means
Washington
you get.
fan,
Hey, to be fair though, as a Patriots fan though, you get to pick between Daniels or May if that's
it
the
may, yeah.
case,
hmm
rather than if they take it, you have to pick between like just Daniels or McCarthy or just May or McCarthy.
I've been watching stuff on May as well. I I feel
I
like
very
I feel a little bit better about May watching some stuff on him than I did before. I feel like the questions are still there about him.
I don't know. Getting Austin Eckler there feels like JJ McCarthy ready. I want Washington I want Washington to get Daniels. I feel like what they could do there would be really nice.
Yeah.
But they probably want someone who could throw that ball to McLaurin. We got Eckler, who's a pass catcher as well too in the backfield. Brian Robinson being that power threat. I don't know. It just smells like it's McCarthy time.
We'll see. I cannot wait. I mean, we're less than a month out from it now.
All I know, my team's drafting an O lineman, so I gotta be happy about that.
Yeah. And now, look, I'm starting to hear about the Patriots entertaining moving down, which I feel like I'm okay with, depending on how crazy 1 and 2 go.
Move down to
It,
5. I mean, man, the Giants. I just wouldn't want to move past 10. That was what scared me. Because
yeah.
then when you get to that 10 past 10, Denver's going to maybe want to take a quarterback. You're going to have teams like Minnesota who's going to try to trade up and want to take a quarterback. Even some of the later teams, Seattle might be sneaky, But we just traded for Sam
hmm
Howell, so it's less likely. But just there's a lot of sneaky teams who could, like Saints. Shit. McCarthy's there at 10 for some reason. You don't think the Saints would want to try to trade up and get him? Someone to sit behind Derek Carr? Okay.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a lot it's a lot of crazy options. I don't know. I'm very much feel like I'm getting how the McCarthy hype was is kind of like the Zach Wilson hype. They're not giving him like the comparables to anybody else. They're not calling him the next Patrick Mahomes or anything like that.
hmm
But he just got hyped up fast. And you know what happened to Wilson? Wilson went high. Went 2.
hmm Yeah. So you gotta hope that he's kind of worth the hype there. And also, if you're a guy like Penix or Bo Nix, if quarterbacks go 1 through 4, it might elevate your draft stock too.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Because
Yeah.
like we said, like man, if Minnesota just misses out, Denver already talked about like the odds. Like Sean Payton said, like was asked, "What are the odds? Like how realistic is it of you guys like trading up to draft a quarterback?" And he was like, "Pretty realistic. Like our teams want him." Man,
Yeah.
who's the quarterback in Denver right now? Stidham.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Stidham
I'm,
and the
I'm
ghost of Russell Wilson, since you're paying like 40
yeah,
million for that.
one of Russell Wilson's bathrooms in his old house.
Oh man, that whole situation's nuts.
But yeah, but if you look at like yeah, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, they could just easily go high, or someone
hmm
trade back in late first round,
Yeah.
trade back to like man, I can just recuperate some more picks, get some good players. I know the quarterback I'm going to want is not going to go until like 20, 30, maybe the second round, but I'll get them early. Like
hmm
hate to say it, like a Johnny Manziel situation. Cleveland Browns traded back in. Lamar was that same type of situation too. Baltimore
Hmm.
traded back in to take him.
Yeah. And rumor was Belichick tried to do it too. Baltimore beat him to it.
That's crazy.
Kind of is, because if you look at Lamar Jackson, you wouldn't think that's a quarterback like Belichick would use, but supposedly
That makes
he
me
really
feel
liked
like
him.
more so. Now that you said that, makes me feel like it might be a Jaden Daniels place.
Well, I think there's also a report that Belichick
May,
did some interview or something that said like Daniels would be the quarterback if he was still the coach. That's the guy he would want.
I mean,
I don't know. We'll
I
see.
think we got our first 3 picks set. In my opinion. Sorry, sorry, Drake May, you're out of the bunch. You just didn't
Yeah,
have good.
maybe.
I've been mocking him to him New York. I feel like New York was like the fit for him as well too. New
Hmm.
York, Minnesota,
I could see him in Minnesota.
shit,
He
Denver.
looks like a Vikings type of quarterback. Yeah, I could see
He feels
that.
like he could be a Sean Payton guy. Doesn't seem like he would just like he wouldn't like fight back or like I'm sorry, but be weird like Russell Wilson. I'm a Seahawks fan, but be a little weird or a little like tough to deal with, I guess, like Russell Wilson. I feel like Drake May is just gonna be that dude who's gonna get in and work, and then he's gonna be happy he worked with Sean Payton. So
Well, hey, Sean Payne's got to figure that out because obviously Russ wasn't it for him. So he
with
better
no
get
money or no
whoever the
draft
guy he
picks.
wants. Denver's going to be an interesting situation. But
Thank you for Devin
well,
Witherspoon.
oh yeah, that's right. That is a part of that too. So yeah, just feel bad for you Broncos fans. But we'll move on to our next topic. We're jumping into the NBA now. The hottest team in the league right now. Those Houston Rockets have won 9 of their
Mm-hmm.
last 10. They're now half a game behind Golden State for 10. They still have a little ways to catch the Lakers. They're 3 behind them. So looking at those two teams ahead of them, they own the tiebreaker over the Lakers, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Golden State wins the tiebreaker over Houston.
Mm.
Are,
Mm. Ah.
will Houston be a play-in team?
So how many games are left in the season
Let's see.
for I
They're
guess each
36 and
team?
35, so they have
36, 35. So what is that?
11.
71, 11,
Yep.
99. Man, it's very possible that I mean, so what the Rockets are doing, the trajectory they're on, they're a young team with some good veterans. They're kind of gritty. They're on the trajectory you want to be, but like the crappy thing about it, who is the last team you want to try to catch up to in a playoff situation? It's probably the Warriors, just with their veteran experience. Like you give me any other team, you put it in this spot and be like, do you think the Rockets could get in? I'd be like, yeah, very much so. But like it being the Warriors, you don't think Steph's gonna clutch down a little bit? Draymond's gonna be like, oh man, like I feel like they don't want to miss the playoffs because like I feel like this is the last tour for this Warriors team, this last ride, regardless of
Yeah.
how they do in the playoffs or not. Um,
Yeah.
that's true. That's a little scary. That's a little scary to have to try to play, catch up with the Warriors.
So I can give you the rest of Houston's schedule.
Okay.
They have the Thunder, then
Uh,
the Jazz, the
uh,
Mavs, the
uh,
Timberwolves.
uh,
Now, April 4th, they play the Warriors. That's going to be a big one.
okay.
They have the Heat, then the
Oof,
Mavericks, the
oof.
Magic, the Jazz,
Okay.
the Trailblazers, and then end
Okay.
their season with the Clippers.
Man, that's a rough schedule. That's a rough schedule. You're literally two of those teams are non like top 8 contenders because what are the Mavericks 8 or the Mavericks still higher than that?
Hold on. I believe the Mavericks are 8. I can tell
Okay,
you.
so I mean
No, they're 7. Sorry.
they're
They
7.
flopped
So
with, they flipped with the Suns. Yeah.
okay, so you what is that? Two of your last 10 games, well, 8 of your last 10 games are against top 6 teams outside of playing the Trailblazers. I think there was one more team, and then you have to play the
They
Warriors.
play the Jazz, which is,
Um,
the Jazz are just the Jazz right at this
yeah,
point.
Jazz are just the Jazz. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot the Jazz are bad. Man, they could definitely get those series against the Jazz, beating the Trailblazers. Yeah, that game against the Warriors is going to be tough. That's a big win. And having to play what Minnesota, the Mavericks twice. God, because Mavericks don't want to be in a play-in either.
Nope.
They do not. Oh,
Honestly, and like even the Eastern teams are like the Magic and teams like that. The Magic are fighting for top four
yeah,
seed maybe in the
that's
East.
also. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
it's gonna be wild for them. So I'll tell you the Warriors schedule. We'll be fair with this one. The Warriors have the Magic, then the Hornets, the Spurs, the Mavericks, the Rockets, then the Mavericks. So both the Warriors and Rockets play the Mavericks twice. Then the Jazz, Lakers, Trailblazers, Pelicans, and then they end their season with the Jazz.
Definitely a more favorable schedule if you're a Warriors fan.
Yeah.
Man, I guess in my personal opinion, it's really gonna have to see like how that Rockets game goes. But I feel like what we're gonna see is like they're gonna slip up a game, maybe lose one to the Jazz, have a bad night or something like that, and then like they'll beat the Warriors, but still be like half a game off. That would suck.
Yeah.
I
I
feel like it's
mean,
possible. I mean, they definitely have the trajectory, the type of team. Like they have what you want to make that happen. And just
mhm.
like they're just going up against like just just NBA like I don't want to say greatness, but like just an NBA like great team. Like just historically, as of late, and of as of 10 years ago, just hard to play the Warriors. Hard to play Steph Curry. It's hard to play Draymond Green. And
Mhm.
besides Dylan Brooks, Draymond Green, they can be jabberjawing. Steph Curry,
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, they can be jabberjawing. Clay Thompson.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, what
man, you
one thing that
you
is
get those guys
working
hot and
kind of
pissed
in
off, and it's not gonna be good.
yeah. I mean, that game's gonna have definitely a playoff feel. But like looking at for Houston though, Jalen Green coming on as well as he has like the past month or so,
27.8.
definitely encouraging for them. I mean, a lot of people feel like he's going to win Western Conference Player of the Month.
Yeah.
Um, they started off really well this season, then they kind of faded away, and then the push that they're on now puts them in a position to be a playing team. But for a young group and a kind of a newly formed group, we'll have to see when they get within 10 games left in the season, where now every game is even more pivotal. Like, do they continue this level of play? Do they, kind of wilt under the pressure? Do they rise above it and become even better? Like, I would love to see Houston get in, with a
Oh, very much. Houston
young
would
group
make
like
any
that.
series more
Yeah.
better than the Warriors. Huh? The Warriors, in as much as it'd be nostalgic, they're getting smacked. Smacked. They cannot keep up with the court with these younger teams. Like it's just evident and evident. And then what? The Warriors are probably one of the older teams, if not the oldest team in basketball. Maybe. I guess we'd have to see. But Curry's
Yeah, I
old.
mean, because
Draymond's old.
between
Clay's
Curry,
old.
Thompson, and yeah, Curry, Thompson, and Draymond right there, that's a pretty old core group
Maybe the
compared to
Lakers might
these
be.
other teams.
Lakers could be up there. I guess Clippers too. Clippers got an old bunch.
Yeah, Clippers are kind of a veteran team, but I don't know. I mean, as Jory said, proud of the Rockets. Look, for year one of the Udoka plan and this group, they've succeeded.
Yeah,
Being
very
above
much.
500, being in the conversation, it's definitely a good stepping stone for them towards
So.
next season.
I remember during when they did all this moves and all these signings, got Adoko, like we were like this, watch out for the Rockets. Like watch out for the Rockets. Like this team could
Mhm.
like shock some people. Like don't be scared if they steal a play in from someone like the Warriors or someone.
Yeah,
It's good. It's
I
good.
mean, luckily the Lakers have a 3-game cushion on them, so they
Yeah, the Lakers are pretty
probably
safe,
aren't
I'd
too worried
imagine,
about it yet.
unless like they have an absolute collapse, which I guess isn't unlike teams. I don't want to say unlike the
And
Lakers, but like it's very much not unlike teams to just break down and stuff like this. You can see the Lakers on, the Rockets and Warriors get in.
I mean, out of the three, I feel like the Warriors are
Yeah.
probably the shakiest one, only because they're still so Curry dependent that if Curry has a couple of games where he's off, you can pretty much count those as losses. And the position that they're in, they can't really afford too many more losses. But like I said,
Steph Curry's so good.
Houston playing Golden State in like a week or so, that is going to be a game I'm going to have my eyes on for sure.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, that's going to be good experience for Houston, even if they don't make the play-in. Playing games down the stretch that have a playoff
Curry
feel.
about to drop 50 that night, though. Ooh,
He's going to have to for Golden State to win. That's kind of been the problem with Golden State, and even Steve Kerr said it. Like, we're still too Curry centric. He needs other guys to step up, whether it's Clay or Kaminga or something like that.
Because when the Warriors
So,
were good, like Clay would just go off.
mm-hmm.
Like we would just like be like, oh man, is Steph Curry just gonna hit like 12 threes again? And it's like, no, Clay Thompson's doing it tonight. Okay. It's like we don't have that feel anymore.
Yeah.
It's like the Warriors, like they would like scare you because you just didn't know who was gonna, you didn't know who was gonna just go off on you. The Kevin Durant days too. It's just like now, like you guys just run through Curry, and then you have some other younger athletic guys to pick up the scraps really, and then Draymond Green.
Yeah, right. So I mean, according to the odds that are on the screen, Lakers 34% making the playoffs, Golden State 32, and Houston's at 2%, which is kind of wild considering they're only a half game back. But like we said, their schedule is kind of tough. But look, we'll definitely keep up with them next week and see if Houston made more ground, if they've overtaken one of the teams, if they've fallen off a bit. Like I'm invested to see what Houston does. All right, let's go to our next one. All right, so the NFL had some rule changes. The first one that we're going to talk about is this hip drop tackle, which is what you're seeing here, because a lot of people hear hip drop tackle and you're just like, what does that even mean? Now, the players don't like the rule change because I heard what RG3 say. If you're now trailing an offensive player, what is a defender supposed to do? I mean, I guess I get that, but I mean, I guess you could dive and wrap them up at their legs, I guess, to take them down. And this play right here, because we talked about it before we came on here, this was the play where Mark Andrews got hurt, because as you can see, Wilson, which is the linebacker for Cincinnati, basically just dropped all his weight on Mark Andrews' ankle, and that's how Andrews got hurt. So the league is using this as a way to make it safer, but for fans, of course, it's going to be so it's something else you're taking away from defenses. How
The
are
no
players supposed
fun
to play?
league.
I mean, yeah, it's partly that, but the biggest issue is when players retire, they become like the biggest voice against the league, which then puts the league in a situation where if we don't make it safer, then we'll just get more and more disgruntled players when they retire. But now it's like if you take too much away, the players actually playing are like, what is this game? Like, what are we doing? It's gonna be weird to see next year. Like, I'm assuming it's gonna be like a judgment call for referees. Are they gonna call it often? Will it be something they call often early on, and then later on they kind of let it go? Will certain crews call it more than other ones? Like, it's gonna make it interesting for some games how they called this tackle now. So
Yeah.
I guess so. Question to you would be like, is the league doing too much with this one?
How vocal were players, like offensive players, about this?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I mean, the report I saw was just players were upset.
Yeah.
So I read that. I guess you would assume it's probably mainly defensive players. Because if you're a tight end or something like a Gronk, Mark Andrews type, you're probably loving this.
Yeah, I mean, as an offensive player, you're loving it, but your job just got way easier as an offensive player. I mean, speed
Yeah.
is going to mean so much more now than it's ever meant.
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek Hill's breaking 2,000 next season. Like, I don't like it. It's just, I mean, like you said, how else are you supposed to go about tackling them? That isn't like diving, which also is a hazard to do.
Yep.
I don't know.
Uh,
I would just have to see the odds of How many players got injured with this tackle? How many were, season ending? Because it's like, man, if like one or two happened, people run on the field and tear their ACLs on the practice field. Like, it's the sport. I don't know. It's a
Mhm.
sport. It's a sport. You know what you're doing when you sign up for sports. Like the concussion thing. Like you can make better helmets and stuff like that. But like you're literally asking someone to just stop tackling a way they've done their whole life in the NFL, in college, in high school, Pee Wee.
Mhm.
It's weird, and it's like there's no other alternative motive for it as well. It's like
Yeah.
you just have to hope you're in front of them. Really,
Right. And if you're trailing them, I guess you're gonna have to either
I imagine we're gonna
pull
see a
up.
lot more zone defenses this year.
That's probably what's gonna happen. Yeah.
A lot more people playing back.
Mhm.
Man, I don't. Maybe it might sound stupid. I think first down should be 15 yards then.
Well, I mean, I've been a big proponent of pass interference should not be a spot foul. That should be like
Agreed.
the college game where it's
Yeah,
like, was it? Is it 15
yeah.
yards in
Because it's not
college?
even
Yeah.
guaranteed. Like if you didn't touch them, they were gonna catch it. Like they
Hmm.
also like that's yeah. I guess I agree with that. I did never like that about pass interference. It was like yeah, maybe he like messed with him, but it was like it was still wasn't guaranteed he was gonna catch it. We've seen dudes with nobody on him drop wide open balls.
At this point, make it
Agreed.
flag football.
I mean, at least in flag football, you could pull the tag off from the back and be able to get it
Mhm.
down. Is that
But
what they should do?
that's also a worry for the league too. It's like if you have parents watch the game and seeing guys get hurt, do they now not let their kid play? And then at that point, you don't have anybody playing the sport, and then your sport just dies. That's always been the talk about a lot of the safety stuff is that they have to make it safer for the next generation because if more and more people don't want to play because of the risk of injury, you lose your sport.
Mm. I don't know. I really
It,
feel like
it's
personally for
just a
me,
tough situation for such a
I
physical
mean,
game.
personally, what I've seen that has been like actual changes that have deserved like we needed it. Like you got to get better helmets. Like concussions are a thing,
Yeah.
man. The old helmets, we always got to keep getting better helmets. And then like
Hmm.
the field changes, and it feels like those were like the worst problems where like people would literally run and like get stuck, and then tear their leg because they're wearing gear, different stuff, momentum, just tons of different things. And changing the field, the turf aspect was good as well. But uh, mm, I just don't see the benefits of this besides maybe a couple less people are getting injured a year.
Hmm.
But
Well,
what
it
I'm seeing
almost
is we're going to see an influx in scoring. Going to
yeah.
see tighter. I don't even. We're not going to see. I mean, I guess defensive players are going to be a lot better. The good defensive players are going to be the great defensive players. But even now, it feels like that's slowly thinning out.
So Jory said if her kid wanted to play football, she would tell them the dangers and the risk of it, and then if you're still up to it, sign them up.
And then after
I
his first
mean,
injury, and if he was like, "I'm done. I don't want to do it again," I'd be like, "Fair enough."
yeah, because I mean, I knew kids in school who said like they couldn't play football because their
Hmm.
parents didn't want them to, and you just have to kind of look at it and be like, okay, that's cool. Like it's your prerogative. You get to choose whatever you want to do, but yeah, I mean, I feel like this hip drop thing is just a kind of secondary thing to the horse collar. We're dragging them
Horse
down from
collar's
behind.
way worse though.
I'm saying like the horse collar tackle was like dragging them down and then kind of falling on their legs, which this hip drop thing that can happen as well. So it almost seems like the two of them have kind of been linked a
But
certain way.
my thing with the horse collar tackle, it was like you were jolting their net back. That was my thing with it. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
literally giving like whiplash, bad like hitting their head on the ground. Like
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird. I don't like it.
Hold on a second. I think I like kicked out my plug.
Okay. Man. It's going to be interesting to see where the league takes us with this because it's just not an ideal situation. And then, like I said, I keep bringing it up for the defensive players. Like, it's really making their job harder every day. Like, I'm glad like a lot of these teams are already doing like their camps and off-season workouts because I imagine all these defensive guys are going through some different tackling drills, some different forms, some different everythings. It's definitely not ideal. But if you're an offensive player, you're a fantasy fan, it's amazing. About to see a world
Yeah,
record fantasy points scored next season.
exactly. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, my computer is just not charging right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, there we go.
Okay, cool. Like, oh,
I
he's
think
gonna
we're
cut
good
out
now.
midstream, and then I'm gonna be like, I can't. You have to close this down. What do I do?
Right. Yeah, so we're good now. All right, so that was the big rule change, but they had another one, the hybrid kickoff. And if you don't necessarily know what the kickoff rule now is, look at the XFL. It's basically that rule where you'll have your kicker, back a few yards. Everybody's lined up on the line of scrimmage for the kickoff. So the kicker will kick it. Those players can't move until the returner catches the ball. Same with the receiving team. Their first line can't move as well. And if you kick it directly into the end zone, I think you now get the ball at the 35, I believe. So
Gosh.
so the point is, like, you want to now have kick returns. I've heard like
Oh, okay,
some special teams coaches have said now they can kind of be strategic with it. So
okay. I didn't think
so
about it
like
like that
special teams
aspect.
coaches definitely love this because now you're gonna have
Going to
more
the
kick
35 is
returns.
wild. Going to the 35 is crazy. Only
I,
65 yards to score.
yeah, but now that's gonna make it on kickers like, yeah, you can't just boom it through the end zone now because now you're gonna cost your team yardage. So you'll probably see like the sky high kicks to get allow your team to get down there for the tackle. Also,
Well,
if you
doesn't
are
matter. They
able,
can't. They can't. They can't move until he catches it. You can't sky kick no more.
that is a good point. That is true.
Squib kicking's gonna be
Well,
weird
well,
too.
the sky kick is just so that you don't put into the end zone
What's the deal
because
about
naturally these
onside
guys
kicks
are
then?
just booming it through anyway. Onside kicks,
Is it just the same?
there was a rule on that because with this, hold on.
Because technically, onside kicks are just the front lines, and they can't move until someone catches it. Like, you can't even onside anymore. I imagine they put some classifications in it. I was just interested.
All right, so here it is. Teams have to declare that they're attempting an onside kick. They
Okay.
get two per game, and neither can take place before the fourth quarter.
That's dumb. I don't like that at all. That ruins any. That's like not. I guess onside kicking is not like a big strategy thing, but I can't get over Pat Mack if he just like literally pooch in it, like to start at the
Right.
second half and then just covering it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess there's
Can't do any
maybe
before the
there's a
fourth
strategy that if
quarter.
you kick it kind of short to get the returner to run up on it, maybe you get a couple to muffle the punt or muffle the kick, and now they're kicking it up ahead of them, and maybe you can get guys to run onto it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, special teams coaches are looking at this now. They can be kind of creative with kickoffs and kick coverages and
Cordell
stuff like that.
Patterson just signed with the Steelers, so he's gonna be happy.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of a good point where this is an aspect of the game that we thought was just going to eventually go away, and this is a way for the league to try to bring it back, which I'm definitely happy for. And like I said,
No,
guys like
I
Cordero
like it.
Patterson and the really good kick returners have to be loving this because now you're catching the ball. You don't have to worry about defenders barreling down on you right away. Like you'll be able to catch it, see kind of how your blocking is set up, and take off that way. We might get more return touchdowns. I'm fine with that.
I love a good kick return. I'm definitely all for it.
Yeah.
It's just another special teams person getting their time to shine.
Absolutely. All right. Those are like the two main rule changes. It's always a good thing, like every year, to kind of see what the league does to, I guess, evolve the game or whatever. So the hip drop tackle, we'll have to see how that plays out and
Oh,
how
also,
disgruntled.
they did the rule get approved to where, sorry, I know one more. If you do two challenges, you get a third one. If you get two
Oh,
successful challenges. I think it said Detroit or something like that proposed it, but I'm not sure if it ever got accepted.
oh, good question. Let's see.
So
Talking
that
about
was one I thought
kickoffs,
of.
hip drop tackle. Oh, the deadline. They
Oh, the
moved
deadline
the
did. Yep, it's
trade
after.
deadline to after week
It's
9 instead of week 8.
bef- oh, I thought it was before week 9. Oh, I guess yeah, after week 8. Yeah, it's the same thing. My bad.
Yeah. So, and that was proposed by the Steelers. Fine with that. Yes, coaches get a
Yeah, I like
third
that.
challenge. That one
Okay,
was approved.
after they get two successful, right? I'm pretty sure it's that you get
No,
oh,
they
just you
only
get
have to
three
win.
challenges.
They only have to win one of the two. If they win either one,
Oh,
they get the third one.
okay.
I like that.
Yeah, I like that. In my opinion, I feel like you should always get a challenge the bullcrap call. Also, let us challenge pass interferences. Bring that back.
Oh, I mean, I thought fans hated that.
Nah,
I, I feel like what
it's
they
a
need to
spot
do.
foul. It's a spot foul. It's a
Yeah.
spot foul. You have to.
Well, just
I'm
have
sorry.
just have
If I didn't
the.
touch that dude and he got 65 yards on me on a penalty, I'm gonna be pissed. If I didn't touch
I feel
that
like they
man.
just, just have the review guy upstairs, and if he says no, then you change it right away. Like the whole them going over and looking at it, I feel like they could
And it,
do it with that.
yeah, they
Yeah,
have
I
whole
would love
rules
to see that.
analysts who are in booths, literally just watching this stuff.
Yeah, let them make those calls. I don't care. Uh,
And what's
okay, so
Gene
that's
Steratore doing? Like, come on. I hear that man always talking, being that rules analyst. Like, why isn't he the one calling it?
a good
He's
point.
literally, he's literally in
Like you
a box
like you
full of
hear
just
him on like
TVs.
college broadcasts and stuff, so he definitely has the time and wherewithal to do it. Why not? That's a good question.
You're a rules analyst, but you just don't actually confirm anything that happens. You just give your opinion.
Right. Because they use like him. They use was it like
I
Mike
guess it's
Pereira
probably
was another one
yeah,
that
but
they
it's
used
probably
too.
because it's they're they're what am I thinking? It's like CBS's own. They don't
Hmm.
actually work for the NFL, so they
Yeah.
can't make the decision on the game. Is the only thing. But the NFL should have people like that, not just referees who have to watch on a Microsoft service to make sure if
Right.
my team pass interference or not.
I definitely agree with that.
They be pushing those Microsoft surfaces like crazy. Like I'm not buying one NFL.
Right.
Your
That's
players
how
don't even
they
like them.
used to hate the way Belichick treated them. Like Belichick would throw them all around, slam them on the on the
Yeah, he'd be
turf.
throwing just Microsoft Surface like an $800 laptop at the bleachers because he's upset.
Yeah, they had to hate that.
Didn't Tom Brady
Um,
break one too?
yeah, Brady
But
became bad at it too.
yeah,
Brady
Brady
would look
threw
at a
one.
picture, get upset with it, and just throw it down on the bench or whatever. Yeah, so that was the last graphic I had. That was the last topic we had, but we
Cool.
always end with fun. So
Uh-oh.
let's see. Last week we did NBA connections, which Jake got through. It was tough because
It was rough.
that
Definitely doing that
that
is
one is
hard for me
definitely
on
tough to do.
NBA. I have
Yeah.
more vast NFL knowledge. I can sprinkle some NBA here and there.
So because of that, I have a new game to
Do it.
introduce that I feel like you will enjoy. I don't know if you played it, but so have you played Weddle?
Oh yeah, I know what it is.
Okay,
I
that
don't
was
play it
the
like
game
actively, but I know what.
yeah, that was the game I was going to use tonight. So those
Okay.
of you listening, if you don't know, Weddle is so if you played Wordle, Weddle is the NFL version of Wordle, basically, where you're trying to figure out who the mystery player is. So I'll pull it up here and you'll kind of get a better understanding. in chat, if you feel like you know who the player is, you can definitely um, chime in. Don't need the ad.
Is
All right,
it all-time players or current?
it's current. Yes, Weddle is
Okay,
current
okay,
players.
okay.
Yes,
Because I was about to say, oh man.
yeah, all time would be way too tough. But
Okay.
so I guess you kind of just kick it off and guess a random player to kind of get some knowledge on. So who do you want to guess?
Mm, let's go. We'll go Seattle team. I'll go Devin Witherspoon.
Okay.
Start it off. Oh, they don't got defense. Oh, it's Owen.
Wait, why
Sorry.
is with it? Why is it? Did I spell Devin wrong?
Yeah, it's Owen.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
maybe they don't have.
Okay,
Huh.
that's kind of wild that he's not in
Let's
the database.
do let's do TK Metcalf then.
Okay, okay, he's in there. All right. So what this tells you is you're right. It's a wide receiver.
But he's shorter than six
He's
four.
around six. Yes, shorter than 6'4", a little
He's
older than
older.
26, and his jersey number is a little higher than 14.
Higher than
Not a
4.
Seattle
Oh,
team member, and
not
not
an
in
NFC
the.
West.
I think that means not in the NFC because it would be yellow if it was an NFC. So it's an
Oh.
AFC player. Like I said, chat if you have
Try
guesses.
Odell Beckham. No, because his number wasn't higher than that. It wasn't higher than
Okay.
14. People, whose football number's higher than 15? Is, uh, is Calvin Ridley with BK? I don't know. I feel like they'd be roughly the same age. I would try Calvin Ridley. I got 8 guesses. I can work with it.
All right. Okay, so
Oh, his number was 0. Damn, I forgot that's what it was.
right. So now you know the players between 26 and 29. They're between 6'1" and 6'4", and they're not in the AFC South, but they are in the AFC.
Oh, so between 6'1", 6'4". I'm trying to think of just AFC receivers. I have so many NFC ones in my head, but AFC.
Yeah.
Let's think. Um, Try Mike Williams. Oh no, Mike Williams is taller than 6'4". He has to be. I don't think he's 6'3". Try? No. Zay Flowers wouldn't work because he's not 27 or 28. The dude's literally 27 or 28.
Yep. I mean, technically, I don't know who the player
Try
is. So
Amari Cooper.
okay.
He might be older.
Right. I think at this point you want to lock down the division. Okay, so it's not AFC North. So he's 29 as well. So now you know
I
it's
guess
not
I
the
have to
AFC
keep thinking
South
the
or the
numbers.
AFC North.
I don't know why I thought Cooper were 18 this season. I don't know. Um,
But didn't Amari Cooper wear? Didn't he wear 18 in Dallas?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, he wore 2 in Dallas. He wore 18 with the Saints. I think
Okay.
yeah.
So Jory has thrown out there
Gabe
Gabe
Davis
Davis.
is good. I like that.
Okay. Let's roll with it.
Watch him be correct.
That would be wild if it was correct.
Okay. Well, he's
Okay, so
6'2".
you got
Oh,
6'2". So we got some new information. Good guess.
that's my height.
Um,
But okay, so he's not in the North and he's not in the South. So that means he has to be in the West. So the Chiefs, Raiders, Broncos, the
or the East.
Chargers, the East, which is what? Patriots, Dolphins,
Patriots,
Jets,
Jets, Dolphins. Yeah. Bills.
Bills. Not Gabe Davis. It's not going to be Stephon Diggs because he wears number 14.
Mm-hmm.
Not going to be Tyreek. Waddle's too young. Man, Patriots receivers. Devontae Parker? Nah. What number did Parker wear?
Parker wore 1.
Yeah, so it's not him. Keenan Allen wore 13. He's 6'2".
I mean, if you're talking New England receivers, how? Well, no, because so Parker wore 1, Juju wore 7, Kendrick Bourne
Corey
wore.
is Corey Davis on the Jets?
I mean,
I
we can
feel
try him.
like, yeah, I feel like that might be interesting. I guess it would lock down whatever. Oh, he's not even probably in the league anymore. He probably has like last year.
Yeah, he's not in here. Huh.
He's probably not in the league. Thinking of just like, Randall Cobb's too old. Dang. How old is Devontae Adams? I just try Devontae Adams so I can just lock down the division.
All right.
I have 3 guesses left on that.
So it
Oh,
is AFC West. It's on the Raiders.
yeah.
So now you need somebody who's 6'2" on the Raiders. And you got the jersey number because it's less than 17, higher than 14. So
Is it
who wore
Tyrell
15 or
Williams?
16?
Tyrell Williams? That was the dude they signed, right?
He's
No.
not
What's
in
his
here.
name? Tyquel. What is his name? You know, who's that receiver they signed? It's not Hunter Renfro. It can't be Hunter Renfro. It can't be Hunter Renfro.
There's no
There's
Hunter Renfro can't be 6'2", can he?
Hunter Renfro is not 6'2", and he also, I don't know what number. I swear the dude wears 16. I feel like he wears 16. I can't remember his name. They paid him a lot of money. 15 or 16. Why can't I think of it? I'm really just trying to think of. Can't be Chevion Williams. I thought it was Tyrell
I
Williams. I
just
know
heard you say Williams, so I just typed in Williams to see if maybe it jogged your memory.
because he was at he played for the Chargers for a little bit. You know who I'm talking about? And then he left and signed a big contract with Vegas as a receiver. And he kind of got a little overpaid. But he had a good season
Oh,
with the Chargers because it was a year Keenan Allen and Mike Williams both got hurt. He was with the
I
Chargers for a
feel like I
while
know who you're
too.
talking about.
Look up Jackson as the last name. I don't know.
Okay.
No, it's not gonna be Tyree. He's tall. He a quarterback slash tight end. And Braylon Edwards doesn't play there anymore. He's on the Falcons. I'm pretty sure he wore like 15 now.
Oh, I think I know who it is. Like I said, I don't know who the player is, so I could technically guess. But since you were playing this, I will say who I think it is has ties to New England.
Man, I feel like it's he was Thornton. No, it's not Thornton. No, Tyquan Thornton's still on their team. I feel like his name starts with a T, but I'm probably wrong.
No, that's not the person I think who I think it
Okay.
is. I believe this player wears number 16 for the Raiders.
I guess New England ties.
He was with the Patriots and had kind of a blunder against the Raiders and then signed there.
Oh man. Why can't I think of whose name it was? I know the exact play and it's in my head too. I swear I remember this. And I'm just and the crappy thing is the Patriots receiving room is just full of like randoms sometimes. And so you really have to like pick through the weeds and think of who it was. Number 16 on the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, man, I feel like it's right there. I just can't think of it.
I feel like if I gave you the college, that might help you too.
Yeah.
So he went to school, NC State.
Man, that doesn't help me because it makes me want to think Braylon Edwards again because he played at NC State. Why can't NC State receivers? Oh, man. I feel like
He's been known to throw touchdown passes too from the wide receiver position.
Muhammad Sanu. I don't know why I cannot think of this. I don't know. It's catching me.
Okay. I'll because I'm assuming this is who it is. Jacoby Myers.
Yep, that's exactly who it was. That is the I was right. It was
Yeah.
a Patriot. I was either a Patriot receiver. I don't know why I kept thinking Tyrell Williams. Tyrell Williams is the dude I was thinking about, and I know he got a lot of money.
The Mr.
Jacoby
Player is
Myers.
Jacoby Myers. Yeah.
I forgot he also got a fat contract last offseason. What, 3 years, $39 million?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you were
fun.
right there.
I like that.
You know, yeah. I feel like this is a game that we could probably settle on, at least like every other week or so.
I just didn't know what. I didn't. I guess it's my fault for not knowing Jacoby Myers' number.
And appreciate Jory with guesses because Gabe Davis did actually help getting the height of 6'2", which then kind of because that led you to like Devontae Adams, and then once we narrowed it down to 17 to 14, I was like, yeah, Jacoby Myers wore 16 in New England, and then we're 16 in Vegas. So
16 is just sort of like a weird number for like a receiver to wear. Like, if you see any other receiver, Tyler Lockett, but we won't mention that. Tyler Lockett is like the only other person I see wear it.
Well, I mean, with the new rules on numbers, like it's gonna get kind of crazy. Like
I want to be a receiver and wear 67.
Like Roquan Smith rocking the 0 and everything like that. And
I like the 0. I think it's nice. Yeah. I like it on defensive players too.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's the fun trivia game that we usually use to end the show.
No, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully next week we get like the full crew in here. Although I think Brett will probably be out the next couple of weeks, but hopefully Jake's back. We can try Weddle again. That we have a couple more people looking at it. But yeah, appreciate all of you that were here in the chat. Like we said, it's now Integrity Sports Network. Same shows you used to watch on Sports Empire, but just a different network name. So same vibe, same people you come to like over, I guess, like the year or so. So make sure you go to the new page, like it. If you're watching over on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate that as well. If you're on X, follow the network there as well. I mean, Dylan, you have anything to add before we get out of here?
Not really. I'm excited for the rest of March Madness. Can't wait to see what will be our Final Four next week. And then, man, the playoffs dwindling. MLB is about to start up. We're getting into that kind of little shift, after football and stuff's over, kind of getting into that baseball, NBA playoff time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's going to get dark for a little bit. Then it's just baseball.
Yeah. I mean, and of course we'll still be here during those dark periods of the sports calendar. We'll definitely have content for you all. I think either next week or the week after, since we'll be kind of closer to the draft, we'll probably do a 7-round mock draft with our teams to really have some fun. I mean, obviously once you get past like the 4th or 5th round, you're kind of just throwing darts at the board anyway, but still have some fun with that.
Yeah, literally it says your team needs a tight end. You're like, who's the best tight end in the 6th round?
Yeah.
You? We'll draft one more down because that makes sense.
Exactly. If you recognize the school, why not? Just take the guy. And hopefully, we'll have people in the chat who may want to grade our drafts or something like that. We'll kind of see what we do with that.
I'm drafting literally all offensive linemen, so I hope people like that.
Okay. If Seahawks fan jumps in, they'll probably be like, all right, you get what the team needs, and they'll probably grade you with an A.
We literally only have
I might go crazy with the Patriots. Who knows?
We have like 8 on roster. It's not good right now in Seattle.
I feel like most teams need O-line help.
We're gonna get Zach Charbonnet to block for us.
That dude is a beast. he was really good last year. Yeah, so like I said, hopefully next week we'll have at least Jake back with us, get 3 in here. But appreciate Anthony Jory, Key was in here. Anybody else who may tune in later on. Also, those of you who are on X, we'd love to hear from you because I know people actually watch over there, but they don't necessarily comment. You can definitely jump in the comments one of these weeks as well. We love the back and forth with you all. But yeah, so until next week, make sure you're back here next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, for another edition of the On the Ball podcast. So for myself and Dylan, we're going to go ahead and let you enjoy the rest of your night. See you next week. We are out of here.